Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me again. My name is Lincoln, and this is my channel RPA Tutor. So, today I want to go over how to retrieve your emails from Gmail. I recently joined the UI forum at UiPath at forum.uipath.com, and so I've been trying to go through and um, learn, of course, but to also share some information, some knowledge that I have. I was recently asked a question in regards to auto completing um, a function, IntelliSense, essentially, where it's mail.subject.contains, and this person, Aaron, is on a time crunch. We've gone through back and forth, and he hasn't responded in a little while, so I think he's good. I think that he's gotten the help that he needs. So, Aaron, if you see this, hello. Hopefully everything's going well. But what I want to do is I want to go ahead and create a project. And what we're going to do is we're going to, from start to finish, we're going to step through uh, creating a project. It's going to be a simple project. We're not going to use the RE framework. It's simply to get the functionality down. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start up a project, and um, we'll call it get my emails. So before we get started, there's a little bit of planning involved, because when we connect to any email account, um, we're going to need a username and a password. So there's a package. Let's see if I can find it. UiPath.credentials, I believe. Yes, UiPath.credentials.activities. And this just gives us access to some activities for creating Windows accounts to store username and password in. And I've already done this, but I'll do it again just so that you guys watching will know how to do it. So after we install it, we'll want to go to the activities panel, and we're looking for uipath.credentials.activity add credential. So if we go to the project panel and open up the main XAML file, we can come over to activities and drag and drop the credential. It auto generates a sequence, which is fine. So if you click on add credential, over on the properties panel, we'll see the properties for it. So the key things to note is that first of all, we're going to remove this activity after we generate the credential. We only needed to do it one time, and it's going to save in Windows Credential Manager. So what we'll do is you can enter in your password, whatever you want to call it, whatever your password is. You want to surround it in double quotes. And then the username for this particular instance, it's going to be your email address. Now, of course, this is not my actual information. I've already created it. The target's really important. The target's going to be what you reference it as. The account that I created earlier was email account, super generic. But after you create it, um, you can go ahead and run it, and it just go ahead and it'll store that information. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and delete this, and what we need to do now is we want to retrieve it. So we want to do get secure credentials. Now, word of warning here, there's there's a couple different ways of grabbing credentials. One is through an asset in Orchestrator, and then this particular one will try Windows first. So if we do get credentials, we'll use the target that we set when we were adding the credential, but uh, we'll also create a variable to store the password. So we'll just, if you hit Control and then K, UiPath will it'll prepare it to generate a variable for you, and you'll see where it says set var right here. So that indicates that after you type in your variable name and you hit enter, it'll generate that variable, and I'll show you. So we'll just call this variable pass. So it should be of type secure string. Yep. Alright, so the scope is the sequence because we only have the one sequence. And then so we're going to use Control K for username, and we'll just call it user. So now we've got pass for password, user for our username. Excuse me. So we can also create a Boolean value for result. We'll just call it result. And what this should tell us is if it is able to retrieve it. So now what we're going to need to do is, let's see, what will we do? We're going to need to decrypt the secure string because we won't be able to actually pass it over as a secure string over to Gmail. So what we'll do is we use a assign activity, and we'll call it call it clear text, and we're going to change it to it's going to be a string. So this isn't necessarily the way that you'd want to do it if you were in a highly controlled environment, but for the sake of example, this is how we're going to do it. And we'll click on the value over on the properties panel, and I'll go ahead and drag this out for a little bit. I'll leave this here for a moment. What we'll need is new system.net.network credential, and then string empty comma pass, because that's our secure string, dot password. I might have a typo in here. So if we look at it, I have a little typo in here. And if I just put a dot between string.empty, and we should be okay. Yep, so that's good. Alright, so now we have our credentials, we're pulling it from Windows, we're translating the password into clear text. So now we will we'll connect to Gmail. So we'll do a IMAP connection. So if we go over to activities, and then we go to IMAP, and then so we're going to get IMAP messages. Right, so now that we have this activity, we're going to enter in the port. I don't know if this is a string. Let's see if we can put it in as a integer value. That looks okay. The server is going to be imap.gmail.com. For our email address, we're just using the email variable that we created earlier. For the password, we're using our clear text password. Alright, let's see. We'll pull back the top 5 emails. We'll choose not to delete messages or mark anything red. So we'll pull back just for the sake of testing and showing you guys how it works. We're going to get messages whether it's red or not. Alright, so this output messages field is really important. It's where they're going to store the emails that are coming back. So we hit Control K for setting the variable, and we'll call this my email messages. So after I hit enter, it should create a new variable. So it's a list of mail messages. So now that that's configured, what we can do is we can loop through these messages. So we'll go for each. Okay. So we're going to loop through the list of mail messages right here. So we'll just go ahead and put in my email messages. Now if we run this right now, it'll throw an error. And the reason why it throws an error is because the type argument is set to object, and so it doesn't exactly know how to utilize that in the list of mail messages. So what we'll need to do is we need to change it. Let's see, I guess I don't have it. So we need to change it to system.net.mail.mail messages, or mail message. And now we have the proper type for this item, and we should be able to properly loop through everything. So let's just review. Maybe we can get this right the first time. So we get the secure credentials, email account. So for the result, we could usually do a error handling process here, but we don't necessarily need to, since this is just going to be a quick test. Right. Okay. So after we retrieve our credentials, we store the username and password in these two variables, and then we decrypt our password and store it in the clear text. From there, we reach out to Gmail, and we will retrieve our emails using our email address and our clear text password. Then we're going to store the top 5 emails into my email messages. Alright, so given that that's all correct, which it should be, we'll go ahead and we'll do a right line. So if we look back at what Aaron was looking at and asking questions about, um, the reason why he couldn't use the IntelliSense for mail is that he didn't change his type. So if it's an object type, so if we change this back to object, and then in the right line we do item dot, we don't, we're not allowed access to the methods that we would if it is the proper type. So we change it back to the mail message type, and then now all of a sudden we have access to the mail properties, and we can pull back things. Um, let's see, we can pull back. Okay, we'll pull back the subject. Alright. So we should be pulling back the top 5 emails in my mailbox, and then we're going to iterate over it and display the subject. So let's see how it goes. Alright, so what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and run the application, and everything should be just fine. Alright, so now we have get my emails execution started. Then we have some subject lines. So it looks like it works. Specifically, the question was regarding using subject contains. So we'll go ahead and give that a try. So if we do item.subject.contains, and we'll let's see. We'll look for wings to go. And the reason why we have to do a toString is because it's a Boolean value. So what it does is it'll check the list of messages that comes back. We'll have the 5 items that'll come back, and it'll check the subject line for each of those string values that comes back, and it'll give us a true or false value depending on if it finds that string value that we're looking for. Alright, great. So we have false, 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 true, false, which is accurate, right? So if we take it one step further and we say let's see, we'll do item dot subject, right? And then we'll do we'll add in a space. So now it'll write out the subject line. Better yet, I'm going to reverse this. So it'll tell us if it should be finding it, if the subject line should have it or not. So go ahead and hit OK, and then we'll run this. Right. So we're looking for wings to go. So there's no wings to go, no wings to go, no wings to go. Then we find wings to go and we have a true value at the beginning. Right. So we have at password, app created, and so forth. All right. So that is, in a nutshell, how to um, connect to Gmail and retrieve your emails. There's other options we could do, but we somewhat went the safest route, and we're not deleting messages or modifying emails. We're simply just connecting, and we're retrieving emails. All right. So in another video, I may go over making the information more secure as you're passing it back and forth from your local machine to the internet. But hopefully this helps you. If you want to see something else, another walkthrough, just let me know. I'll try to make it happen. It might not be immediate. It might take me a few days, maybe a week. Depending on what's going on, I'll definitely try and get to it, get it done. So, thank you for watching. Again, my name is Lincoln. Uh, Channel is RPA Tutor, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Goodbye.